Hi everyone, my name is Mukeshkala, UiPath MVP 2023, and today I am going to talk about the design experiences. In UiPath, we have got two design experiences. First is the classic and the second one is the modern design experiences. In this playlist, we are discussing about both of them. How does each of them work? What is the difference between them? And what are the benefits we get whenever we are using the modern design experiences? In case you are absolute new to the selectors and you do not understand the difference between the classic versus the modern, this playlist is for you. This would be the first video in the playlist where we are going to discuss about the design experiences. In the upcoming videos of the playlist, we are going to deep dive into the modern experiences. In case you are coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in the series. Having said that, let's go to the agenda. So this would be our agenda for today. We are going to start what exactly is UI automation, what are activity panel and properties, what are the design experiences which are available in UiPath, how do you change the design experiences, and how do you use the activities interchangeably. So this video is going to be the base of the upcoming videos where we are going to understand both the design experiences one by one. So let's get started by looking at what exactly is a UI automation. So forget about this classic and the modern thing, right? First of all, we need to understand what exactly is a UI automation. When I say UI, it simply means user interface. Whenever in UiPath I have to automate something which is available on the screen and which as a human I can interact with the help of my keyboard and the mouse, that is called a user interface, right? Now user interface automation simply refers to process of interacting with that user interface. In the UI automation, we usually mimic the human action, what the human is doing. So for example, if as a human you open a browser, you navigate to a URL, you input some data and you generate some output. When I say that I am going to do with the help of UI automation, the robot will also open the browser, the robot will also navigate to the URL, the robot will also input the data, and the robot will also generate the output. So basically the robot would mimic all the actions whatever you do. Whenever we have such automations in UiPath, we call it as a UI automation. Now it can be interacting with the buttons, text box, drop down, check boxes, or anything. Okay. Now whenever we are doing the UI automation, the first step is to always lay out the human path, which simply means that as an automation developer, you should know that how the human is doing it, right? If you don't know how the human is doing it, how would you replicate it in the automation for the robot, right? So the first step always for the UI automation is to know what exactly the human is doing, right? This approach guarantees that the automation process is efficient and effective while also identifying the errors that might be missed during the development, right? So that is why the first step is important. And if I have to do any such automation where I have to mimic the human action, whatever the human is doing, that is what it is called the UI automation. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear. Now you understand what exactly is UI automation. If I have to do UI automation in my UiPath Studio, I have something which is called activities panel, right? For those of you who are already aware of the activities, these are the building blocks of an automation, right? You simply go to your UiPath Studio, you have lot of activities which you simply drag and drop to the canvas and you instruct the robot what to do. So for example, if I have to click something, so I use a click activity. right? If I have to type, I use a type into activity, right? Now you might be thinking, Mukesh, why are you telling these activities at this point? The reason for that is because if you want to understand the design experiences, we need to understand how these panels actually work, and this is to set up your basics, right? So the first thing first, we understood what is UI automation. To do the UI automation, UiPath provides us a set of activities which are available in the activities panel, and these come from the dependencies what you have added, right? I hope that is clear. Now, for all these activities, whichever you drag and drop on the automation canvas, you have something which is called properties, right? What does this mean? So for example, I tell you that you have to click on a button which is available on a web page, right? So you go and you simply use a click activity. Now sometime what might happen, that click is not responding within the stipulated time, or you want to wait, let's say 10 seconds before clicking on that button, or you want to wait for 15 seconds after clicking on that button, right? So that means that click operation is same, but depending on your scenario, you would have different properties, right? Somebody would like to wait for 5 minutes, somebody would like to wait for 10 minutes, right? So that means that the activity is same, but we need to customize that activity as per our requirement. So that customization is provided by something which is called properties, right? So every activity in UiPath has something which is called properties, and these properties let you to customize the building blocks. When I say building blocks, I simply mean the activity to reach your automation goal, right? So we have two things, guys. We have activities and we have properties. So these activities have the properties, okay? So now that you understand the concept of activities and the properties, let me quickly go to UiPath Studio and show you the same thing with some extra details, okay? This is my UiPath Studio, and if I go to the activities, you would see that I have got all these activities, right? So if I want to do a click, I simply go here and I search click, and I can drag click activities here, and this is where I get the properties, right? So that is what I have discussed. Now one thing here, all these activities whichever are coming, these are coming from the dependencies, right? If you would see, I have the Excel, mail, system, testing and the UI activities available. That is why if I have the Excel here, if I go to the activities and if I search here Excel, you would see that I am getting all the Excel activities, right? But if I search here PDF, I am not getting any activities for PDF automation. That is because I do not have the dependencies of PDF. And if I wanted to have the PDF activities, I simply have to go here and I manage the package, right? So all the activities whichever you get are derived from the dependencies which you add, right? Now you might be thinking that, Mukesh, I already know this, right? Why are we even discussing this, right? So trust me, this is all related to the modern design experiences, right? Now if I have to ask you guys that you have to do a UI automation, right? If I have to ask you that you have to do something with the help of keyboard, mouse, click, type into activities, so all the developers would require this one, UiPath.UI automation activities. If you don't have this, you won't get the click, type into all those activities, right? So to do the UI automation, you have UiPath.UI automation activities, and this thing also gives you this UI explorer which is called user interface explorer, right? We have seen all of this in the previous selector series also, right? So this is just a quick recap, right? Now all this was working perfectly, and this is what is the classic design, right? Where you have the UI automation activities and you have all these wizard, right? UI explorer, recording, screen scraping, everything available, and this is what is a classic design. Now when and how the modern design was introduced, let's see that now. In 2020.4, which when I say 2020.4, I simply means the year was 2020 and the month is April, right? UiPath had a released where they introduce something which is called UI automation dot next activities package, right? And this new activity package, which is called the UiPath automation next, it has got a new way of identifying the target elements. It has a new recorder, new data scraping wizard, and everything was new, right? Now, if any developer wanted to use the automation next activities, they would simply go to the package, manage packages, and add this dependency to the project, and they get all the new activities. So this happened in 2020.4, right? But when we came to October, that was 2020.10, which was the October release, this new feature, which was UI automation next activities, got deprecated, which means that UiPath simply removed this package and it was no longer available in the manage packages, right? Now what was remaining? The remaining was only the UI automation package, which we already have, which has got all the traditional click, type into, and all those activities, right? So with 2020.10, UI automation next package has been deprecated, and the existing UI automation package, right, which we were just referring, that was expanded to include all the modern features which was available in UI automation next activities, right? So sometime if you are referring to any previous or old tutorials, you might see people using UI automation next activities. That is because that was made, let's say, between this April and October, right? But with the 2020.10 release, UiPath removed this thing, and now all the modern activities or the modern features are available in this UI automation package. So that means as a developer, if you want to use the new modern activities, you do not have to import this because this is no longer available, and all these activities are part of your UI automation package only, which is the same package which was there in the classic version as well. Okay, so that is why I was guiding you through the packages part. Okay, I hope this makes sense now. When UiPath introduced a new release, which was 2021.10, this simply means the year is 2021 and the month is October. The modern design experiences is default for all the new projects, right? So that means that you now get the design of modern for all the new projects. Now you might be thinking, Mukesh, you never told me what is modern and what is classic, right? And that perfectly makes sense, right? Just bear with me for a moment. You need to understand that the modern design experiences was enabled by default in 2021.10, right? Now a question arises, how do I know whether I am in classic or whether I am in modern, right? So let me first show you in UiPath Studio, how do you differentiate whether you are in modern or whether you are in the classic. Okay, so I am back into my UiPath Studio. At the top, you see that this is an example of classic design, right? So this project, whatever you see on the screen, is built on the classic design, right? And how do I know? Simply you have to see this thing. If you go to the recorder, you would see all the recorders separately. Basic, desktop, image, native Citrix, and all these are available. When it comes to the scraping, you have a separate screen scraping and you have a separate data scraping as well. Okay, so this was a classic design. The other thing is, if I go to the projects, and you would see here, I still have the UI automation dot activities here, right? That means that if I go to the activities and if I search here click, right, you would see that the click activities is available in the UI automation element, mouse click, and all of this are separate, right? So this is inside the UI automation. So if I go here, the click activity is coming inside UI automation, and in the mouse you have this thing, right? So if you are having this structure, right, where you see that the recording are all separate, you are seeing the two different data scraping, your activities are like this, what is seen on the screen, This simply means that you are in the classic experience. Now let's go to a project which is built on the modern design experience, right? So if I go to the modern design, you would see all the recorders are now included in this single recorder, which is app/web recorder, and you only have single recorder. There were two different extractions when I was talking. So if I just open this one, this is the classic one, right? I'll just minimize this. Okay, so as you can see, this is the modern and this is the classic, right? So in the classic you have this recording, we had all these things. In here you only have a single recorder, right? Screen scraping, data scraping were two different things. Here you only have one thing, which is called the table extractions, right? And user events, everything is same. UI Explorer also looks the same, right? So this is one differentiating factor which you could notice, that your project is modern or your project is classic, right? Now if I go to the project, you will notice that I don't have that UI automation.next. That is because it has been deprecated, and now every modern activities is a part of UI automation.activities, right? Now let's go to the activities and search for the same activities, which was click. Now if I go here and I see click, you would see that this is now coming in the UiPath.UI automation activities inside the click. Okay, so this is how it differentiate, right? If I go to the classic one, when I go to the classic, I go to the activities and I search here click, you would see that this is coming inside the UI automation pack, right? The other differentiating is, in the classic design, if you see, you only have a single click where you have to just indicate on the screen and you just get the selector, right? All of this we have already explained in the selector playlist, so I'm not going much into detail there. If you are new to this selector series, guys, I would request you to watch the playlist. That will give you everything about whatever we are discussing, right? Now this video we are just talking the differences. Now if you see, when I go to the click activity in the classic design, I go to properties. You only have a limited properties where you can only do the manipulation on selector. You just can do some changes on the buttons, delays, simulate type, simulate click. However, when you go to the modern design, and if I now take a click activity, now if you see here, the first difference you would see is the look and feel, right? You can actually customize a lot of property directly in the activities without directly going to the properties. You get an option of something which is called object repository, and you have a different set of properties which are coming in this click activities. But if you see at the top, it says UiPath.UI automation next activities.n click, right? So that is how you differentiate between the design, whether you are in the modern or whether you are in the classic, right? Just a quick recap, right? In the classic one, you would have all these recorders separate. You would have the screen scraping, you would have the data scraping here. But in the modern one, it is very much simplified. You only have the recorder, table extraction, and these other things are gone, right? The other difference is in the activities look and feel. Whenever you select here, this has a big hierarchy, whereas in the modern one you would have everything inside a single package only, right? The next difference is, when you go and click on this one, you would have a different layout and different set of properties. However, in the modern one, the look and feel would be different, and you would have something which is called object repository, right? Don't worry if you don't understand any of this. This playlist is dedicated on the modern experience only, where we are going to do all the steps one by one. Having said that, I am back into my presentation, right? So now I hope you guys now understand how do you differentiate between the modern and the classic. Okay, so we have got two design experiences in UiPath. The one is called the modern and the other is called the classic, right? The modern experience is a more user friendly with new feature, while the classic is a traditional interface. In UiPath Studio, the modern experience is used by default. right? So by default, when you open the studio for the first time, you create a new project, you would always get the modern experiences, right? Whenever you are following any tutorial, let's say on my channel also, right, a lot of tutorials are built on the classic version, and that is where people ask me, I have a different interface, what you are having, right? That is because you are in the modern experiences. But the good part is user can always switch to the classic experience depending on their needs, right? So two things to remember, you have modern and classic. By default you have the modern experience, but user has option to switch from classic to modern, right? Now this is the classic design. This one, recording, screen scraping, UI Explorer at the top. Here you have this thing, UI automation, browser. So this is how you differentiate the classic design. This is an example of the modern design, right, where you have the activities in the UI automation, simplified activities, and this menu also simplified, right? So classic, modern, two design experiences. Okay. Now, just now I told you guys that you can, or a user or a developer can always change the design experiences. Now, how we can do that? Okay. So for that, you can do the manipulation at two levels. One is at the studio level and one is at the project level. Okay. Now, changing the experiences at the studio level, right? See the word studio level, which means that all the project whichever I open in the studio, this setting will be applied to all the projects, right? So changing the experience at the studio level, what you have to do is you have to go to the settings, design, and you have this option which says use modern for new projects. If I toggle this on, all the projects whichever you create in the studio after this setting will be in the modern. But if I toggle this off, all the new projects whichever you create would be created in the classic design. Okay, so this is at the studio level, right? Let's see that in action. So I'll go back to my UiPath studio now. This is my UiPath studio. So all you have to do is go to the home, settings, design, right? Again I'll repeat, just go to the home, settings, design, scroll down, and you have this thing which is called use modern for new projects, which is toggled on. If I toggle this off, whenever I create a new project, it would be created in the classic. If I toggle this on, it means that whenever I create a new project, it will be using the modern design, right? So very simple settings, home, settings, design, right? Now if you want to go switch to the classic for all the projects, you simply have to go to this one and toggle this off and create a new project, and that will make sure that you always create a new project in this design, which is a classic design. So this is the switching of experience at the studio level, which means that whatever I do here is applicable to all the new projects in the future. The other switch is at the project level, which means that I already have created a project, right? I may have created it in a classic or a modern design, but later I figure it out that, hey, I want to do it in the classic or I want to do it in the modern. That means that you can change your design experience at the project level as well. So to do that, you simply have to go to the project setting and general, and you can switch your design experiences for a particular project, not for the complete studio, but for a specific project, right? Let's see that also in action. Okay, so now I am back into my UiPath studio, and this project, as you can see, is built on the classic design, right? I hope now you guys understand what is classic design, right? Now after some time I noticed that, hey, now I want this project as a modern, not all the project but only this project. I simply have to go to project. Here you see something which is called the setting button, and in here you see my modern design experiences is off, right? Because this is a classic project. If I toggle this on, it says that the modern design experience setting has been modified. Reload the project to apply the changes, right? See the name of the project. The name of the project is classic design, and I say reload, right? UiPath Studio is reloading my existing project, and now I should see the modern design in the same project which I initially created as the classic one. We'll wait for this setting, and now as you can see, the top menu, the recorder has changed. I have got the new table extraction, and my classic design has been updated now to a modern design, right? Initially I created this project as the classic, but I later went to the project, went to settings, and I simply changed it from this setting, modern design experiences, right? I can again toggle this off, and this will again go back to the classic. And this setting is at the project level, right? We are not telling UiPath Studio to go and do for all the project, only this project, right? Now the same thing, let me go to the modern design. This is a project, as you can see. I have this app designer, I have this computer vision. This is a modern one. You can go to the project, go to the settings, and here it's already enabled. Now to switch back, I simply toggle this off, and it says that the modern design experiences has been modified. I say reload, and now my experience should automatically shift to the classic one. So the name of the project is modern design, right? This is the modern design project which I was sharing, and now I felt that, hey, I want to use it in the classic experience. So I just simply went and changed this to the classic one. And as you can see, now the ribbon, everything is changed, and now this is in the classic design, right? To toggle this back, again go to the project, settings, and change this, right? Two ways of switching the experiences. One is at the studio level, where you say that for all the new projects we want the modern experience. If I toggle this off, this will become classic. Once you have created the project, you can always go to the project tab, project settings, and here you have this option to enable or disable the modern design. So I hope you are following along with me till this point. If that is the case, just let me know in the comments that yes, you are following, by simply commenting let's say design experience, right? So if you understood design experiences, please comment design experience in the comment box, so that I understand that yes, you guys are following along with me, right? I'll wait for your comment. And the last thing for today I want to show is this thing, right? Using activities interchangeably, which means that if I have already created a classic or a modern project, can I use the activities interchangeably? Which simply means that if I have a project which is built in modern, can I use the classic activity? Or if I have already make a project in classic, can I use the modern activities? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. It's absolutely simple, right? So how do you do that? I'm back into my UiPath Studio. So this is now a modern project. I go to the activities. Here you see you have this setting button, filter by. In the modern project, I can simply select the classic, and you would see all the classic activities now available in a modern project, right? So this is a modern project, and you can see the classic activities available here in the separate classic tab. Okay. Similarly, this is a classic project, right? This is a classic project. And if I want to use the modern activities here, I simply go to activities, point it here, and modern, and you get this modern tab, which means that I always has an option to change the project. If I change the project, still I can manage and use the activities interchangeably, which means that classic project can have modern activities and modern project can have the classic activities as well. Interesting, right? To do that, you simply have to go to the activities, click on this filter button. If you are in the modern, you would have this classic. If you are in the classic, you would have this modern button available, right? So that's how you use this activities interchangeably. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear, and now you have a clear idea that what is modern, what is classic, how do you switch the experiences, and how do you identify which is modern, which is classic, and how do you use the activities interchangeably, right? So that is it, guys. I wanted to cover in this video. In the upcoming videos we will drill down into more of these experiences and we'll try to understand the differences, right? Let's have a quick recap. So today we have seen what exactly is a UI automation. It simply refers to a process of automating the user interfaces. There are two design experiences, modern and classic, right? The modern one is the default one for you guys, and the classic is the old one. Design experiences can be always changed from modern to classic and from classic to modern, right? This can be done at two levels. One is at the studio level, where you change it for all the projects, and one is at the project level where you change it for a individual project, right? And the last thing we discussed is that you always can use the activities interchangeably, right? Modern projects can have the classic activities, and the classic projects can have the modern activities. Okay, so I hope this is clear. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can always drop me an email as well, right? Having said that, I would like to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.